Good afternoon and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm Audrey Lynch with my beautiful co-host Judy Loge. Welcome to the show today. We've got a great show lined up for you today. Recently, we celebrated, I believe it was National Premature Day.
It's National Preemie Day. It's Worldwide
Preemie
Day.
Yeah, that's right
Today.
too. National, world, definitely. And so we have a special guest, Flora Sharp, that's going to be joining us later to talk to us about her experience and her stories. So we are so excited about having her on.
A lot of women and men are going to be tuned into that topic.
Yes, definitely, for sure. We're going to start off our show like we always do, and we want to start off with a positive quote. And Judy, it's your turn, I believe.
All right. So on that topic of World Preemie Baby Day and Mommy Day, I thought this was very pertinent. No one else will ever know the strength of my love for you. After all, you're the only one who knows what my heart sounds like from inside. And that's anonymous.
That is so sweet.
And it's beautiful.
It is. It's true.
It doesn't matter which, I guess it's saying like to my child, but it's for every single one of those children that will never know your heartbeat, but from within, right?
No,
that
exactly. That's just
relate
it.
to that infant, no matter how many times over you have a baby in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved it.
That's
I really
beautiful.
did.
That's beautiful. Now, you have a book that you wanted to mention along with that. Now, what book have you got on the go?
You know me. With
I
my
know.
books, Audrey, I'm a
Which
book
one
addict.
is it?
I said there are worse things in life than being addicted
I
to
know
books.
you have more than one on the go, but there was one in particular you wanted to mention.
Well, I just finished Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult.
Okay.
And it's spelled Picoult, Picoult. A French lady and living in New England, basically, but she is a very amazing author in that she takes on extremely heavy subjects. Whether it be medical issues, criminal issues, just from the heart stuff. It could be somebody with cancer that's affecting others in their family, and it could be them themselves dying. And it's all about life and the terrible journeys we take and the celebrations we make along the way. So this is entitled Small Great Things.
Small Great Things.
Oh, it's so amazing.
Is it really?
Yes, you'll have to read it, folks, if you're an avid reader like myself. Voracious would be the word. She explores everything, particularly the central character is African American. She's an amazingly gifted, educated, youngish woman, and she goes in with this baby and to deliver. She's in the labor and delivery unit of the hospital for 2 decades.
Okay.
And then there's a case that presents to her. The whole thing unravels. It goes into a court scene. It touches on gender. It touches on racism. It touches on very amazing topics that some people don't dare to go to.
No, because they're still quite volatile, right?
And we have to be more open. I mean, we're living in the 21st century, for heaven's sakes. It's almost 2019.
No,
so people have to be more educated in all these different things, and diversity is one of them.
Yes,
You'll love the book, Small
Now,
Great
is this
Things.
a fictional writer? Is she a fictional writer?
She
is. Yeah.
But she takes a lot of her stuff and she carries it over from her personal life. For example, one of her children was the subject of one of the books without him being named.
Okay.
And that was a whole other ballgame. She targets really heavy subjects.
Yes, exactly.
And she does a good job tackling them.
Yeah. Well, talking about great stories, I was to the movies last night, and I did scoot out to see Bohemian Rhapsody.
Good.
And wow.
It's a wow.
Absolutely wow. I grew up with a little bit of like I would imagine it was more my parents' music initially, because I was so young then. But Queen is who I remember as well. Like I knew every single song, and Freddie Mercury and his performance, and the actor Rami Malek. He was phenomenal.
Well, he was beyond outstanding in my books. I mean, we've all seen so many movies. You're a moviegoer. I love a really, really good movie.
Well, and they're doing a lot of movies now that are biographical.
Yes.
Right? And telling the true life story of parts of the stories that we may not know or didn't know about these real life people that actually existed. Whether they were actors or musicians. I loved actually learning about how the songs, the really good songs that made it to the top of the charts, how they came about, how the thoughts and the ideas for these songs came together. That alone actually really, really inspires me that, anything is possible.
He was one of the world's top rock singers, probably. I'm sure he was voted in the top 100 by Billboard and various other high-end selection areas. But Freddie Mercury has almost a 4-octave range. He's more in the tenor area, but he's 3 to 4 octaves. And also, the interesting thing about Freddie Mercury is that he's basically a shy person.
Very.
Yeah.
He was very shy and timid, and he
But
was
flamboyant.
bullied. Yeah, and he was back in the day when who he was as a person inside was very, very shunned. Very, very unacceptable for sure.
So many
And
inner demons, so many demons.
definitely,
he fought.
definitely.
And I loved
then
how he played
just
it.
the way he looked as a young boy, he was bullied and tortured
Yes,
and
for sure.
tormented a lot. But that one specific thing with his teeth and the way his mouth was shaped was the reason his voice was as good as it was.
That's right.
And he was able to reach those ranges and octaves because he had that larger palate. So
Four
why?
extra, oh, yeah, he had four.
Extra incisors, I think
Yeah,
it was.
4. Or at least
You know?
the 2 on top of the 2 that you normally would
Yeah.
have, front teeth. I could not get over his acting ability.
Yeah, I couldn't take my eyes off him. I really couldn't because I had watched a little bit of clip of the real Freddie Mercury,
me too.
and I couldn't get over it.
Beyond. Lucy Boynton, that played Mary Austin.
Yes,
Well, she was
yes.
another grand little actress.
She was.
And beautiful. I thought it was so well cast. I really did.
Yeah,
I love.
she did really well with her character
she was
and where
amazing.
she was with all of that and her role that she played.
Do you know who I give big kudos to? Aaron Hayes, the production costume manager of the
Yeah.
set. To me, that set left me spellbound.
Yeah.
I couldn't get over how well he researched his era and the
Yeah.
costumes and how even the zooms from when the airplane came in,
Yeah.
you felt like you were on the airplane.
Yes.
I thought, and the set was just fantastic.
Yeah,
The
era, the clothing,
Yeah.
the hair, the makeup, which is what I was looking at everything,
would be.
critiquing all of that.
I was
And-
looking at London because
Yeah.
the Gillette Stadium is where they did most of the stage performances
Yes.
in Southeast
Yes.
London, and I
Yeah.
love London. I mean, I go there on a regular basis,
Yeah.
and so I kind of lived. We went to see Queen actually, the production Bohemian Rhapsody,
Oh.
or the Queen story. It was, I guess, that point in London. I'll never forget it, and it wasn't that long ago.
Oh, you're kidding.
But Aaron Hayes has done so many things with Star Trek and all these big movies. He's from California, but I want to applaud him on his production set.
Yeah, exactly.
Design.
That's just it. If you haven't gone out to see it, definitely worth every little penny to go out and see that movie. And seeing it in theater, I'd have to say, made it that much more phenomenal.
The rock music.
Yeah,
The actual, you wanted to get up and go with the band,
Oh
didn't
yeah,
you?
I was tapping my foot. I was in my seat singing along. I know I was.
But the lead that played Freddie Mercury is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
He was fantastic. Absolutely. I'm like, what, Oscar, Emmy?
Oh,
what
for
are
sure. Oh, if he
what
doesn't,
are all
there's
the
something.
Grammy's music, but still definitely an award there.
Get
I think
there.
so, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Other things that are happening here in Miramichi, actually, we want to talk about. There's a couple of things that are coming up. In town is the Curling Club Championships here in Miramichi, if I'm not mistaken. You got some info on that?
Well, no, but it's just as we speak.
Oh, it's as we speak. Okay.
Yeah, Sean Ingersoll was actually going to come on our show the time we had the power issues, the power
yes.
outages. So unfortunately, he could not be our guest. But the National Travelers Canadian Men's Championship is
right.
on right now.
Yeah, curling's
And
big. It's big
I've
here.
never curled in my life, but
No, me neither.
But go out and support these curlers. They're coming from all over the place, and we're hosting this year, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
I wish we could have had Sean on to give us all the details, but it's starting this weekend actually, and running right through to a couple of days into the week,
Yeah.
19th to 23rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. And we also have coming up this weekend here in Miramichi the Women of Influence Gala.
We do.
The winners have been announced,
Yes.
and you have a list of those.
That's always
and we're celebrating
exciting.
them as well.
Yeah, it's an annual event. I'm going to be the MC again this year.
Okay.
I haven't thought about it yet, but I'm going to be the MC this year, and it's probably going to be sold out, but I'll think about it probably on Friday night. Too much going on. Okay, so it is happening this Saturday, November 24th at the Rod in Miramichi. This is honoring various women in our community, although there are so many that we can't get them all in every year. I have nothing to do with the decision panel. I am only the Master of Ceremonies. However, they sit down and they receive nominations from every woman in the city in their respective categories.
Because the nominations have been open for a while, right?
Since like October,
Yeah.
early. Maybe even end of September.
Right.
So they're going to give these women the awards to cut to the chase. This year, the Professional of the Year will be Monica Lloyd.
Yes.
Works at the Region 7 Hospital here. Woman entrepreneur Tracy Bryanton Power. She's been in business for 20-some years as an owner-operator of her own salon. Young Woman of Influence, Maxine Guinness. Now, I've only had the pleasure of meeting Maxine on a very brief hi, how are you, great to meet you kind of thing, but I don't know much about her, so I'm more interested to find out. She's obviously amazing to be the Young Woman of Influence. The Woman of Influence this year is Justice Jerry Mahoney.
Yes,
and she's a friend to many of us, and
well-deserved there.
When I was in my office at the probation office, she was a lawyer then, and she worked her way up to becoming a judge, and she's not just presiding over some very, very major cases in our province. She's an incredible woman, period, as these women all are. And also the Women's Network is the wonderful board and network that's assembled in our Miramichi area. This is who is putting this on.
Right.
Okay, so the Women Member of the Year will be a surprise for 2018. They're going to select somebody that belongs to their group.
Yes,
and they're going to give an award to that lady.
Oh, that's
exciting. And you'll be there, right?
Oh, yes, I'm going to be there.
You're going to be with me.
Yes, we'll be sitting at a table together along with a lot of beautiful, professional, well-deserved women. You know, women helping women, women supporting women.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Yes,
men can go, and they would like to obviously accompany the person that they're like with their spouse or their friend, and honoring the person that's getting the award. But feel free just to come, even if you don't know anybody that's in the running. It's a lovely evening.
Yes, it is, and at the Rod, it's a beautiful location to have that as well.
Yes.
A few other stories that we wanted to talk about that were a little bit more international. Unfortunately, Trump is always in the news.
Oh my!
And
maybe
sort of have hate to bring him up, but he did not attend the memorial service in Paris.
No, he didn't.
And did he make did he do a press conference on why he wasn't there?
He used the rain as an excuse, because the rain, that's a big excuse, isn't it, to not go to honor those fallen people?
Okay.
Here, I'm going to be sarcastic again, Audrey.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Obama's assistant said that no matter what happened within the 8 years that he was Obama's assistant, that there's always a solution around rain. That's just a given. You can take a train. You can take another huge.
Well, he wasn't walking. Was he walking?
Too bad he hadn't been walking. I think we should have made him walk.
Could have used a little walk.
But I mean, there are 1,800 American soldiers buried in that little French village of Belleau. Okay, so he was going to be there. In 1918, the Americans and the can't even spit it out here. The Americans and the French.
Right.
Okay, they did their battle. All right, and they took on the German forces. So as a result of that, 1,800 of the American men are laid to rest in that area, in that tombstone and the cemetery. And he was 1 hour and 15 minutes away from being there. It's that close.
Oh, you're kidding.
It's only on the outskirts.
And he chose not to go because it was
bad weather.
Oh.
So Winston Churchill's grandson is a conservative member of parliament.
Right.
And he said it was appalling that he wouldn't honor those people. He said when, their faces came to their fall, how could he not, think like that and look at what they suffered and not make that journey, regardless. Weather is the poorest excuse I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. No, exactly.
You can get out of your helicopter and take a bigger means of transportation.
Exactly.
Oh, I love Trump.
He's going to be on the show someday.
I slept 2 hours last night, but hey,
No.
I'm awake now.
Yeah. Another thing I want to bring up, and a lot of people have probably been watching in the news and stuff as well, is all the fires in California. It is quite, because we had our own quite devastating in Canada, out west in Fort McMurray, where we had a lot of fires that, when I look at the pictures and videos that are coming out of California right now, and people driving and just the whole countryside and hillside on fire, it reminds me of Fort McMurray. But they have almost 100 dead.
People perishing just as we speak.
Yes, and over 1,000 missing, if I'm not mistaken. In the areas that this is happening. And I know Trump did scoot down there.
Okay.
And he was going through and doing a little visit there. I didn't quite sit down and listen to everything he was saying about the situation, but they're, trying to figure out the causes. I believe they believed it was a campfire, or what I mean, different things like that. But I just want to say our thoughts and prayers are with everyone that's involved down there, and that
it's a nightmare.
It is.
And the homes are this close together, and there are a lot of like big homes. Not that it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. A person is a person. A human is equal to every other human in my books, and your house is as good as what's in between the walls.
Well, there's so many.
But they're losing like all those people that are the big stars that have their homes. I mean, it's nothing for them when they're worth millions to have them taken. No. However, it's the fact that they could lose their lives. All these people.
Well, that's just
and they have been.
Yeah,
it's really scary for families,
are being affected
children,
as well. And all those who are have lost their homes to date, where are they? Where are they living? Like, there's all these people that are displaced, you know what I mean, and don't have a home, don't have, like, some people like literally ran from their home with just the clothes on their back, like could take nothing.
Or couldn't get out in time.
No,
that wasn't happening. They were so rampant and so just ready to catch on the next home that all these families had to flee.
No, exactly.
And we complain about winter. Okay, winter is not fun for all of us.
No, exactly.
But we could be in that situation, so we have to count our blessings.
No, we
that
really
we're
do.
in snow and not a natural disaster.
No, exactly. We do have our issues. Winter is upon us.
I know.
Even though it's the middle of November,
yeah.
We do have a good amount of snow that I think is down, and it's here to stay.
And I think people better be careful of their driving, because I've seen a lot with that winter tires on. It did creep up very quickly upon us.
It did.
We're so reluctant and procrastinators
I got
when
mine
it comes
on.
to getting them on.
I didn't wait around this time. I do the winter tires with the studded tires and things like that. I really don't. I do a lot of driving. They're short little, but it's every day, back and forth here and there with kids, especially taking them to and from different things and work as well. And I don't like to not feel in control of this. How heavy is my car? Like that?
No.
You know what I mean? It's a big piece of metal, and I want to feel like I'm in control.
And you're watching the other drivers because sometimes they're the ones that are swerving. It could be a transport, and they're coming in your direction. Just winter driving scares me in general.
It is. It does. And the other thing that goes along with winter, unfortunately, is what we call the winter blues.
Oh, SAD.
Yeah.
Which is ironic that it's shortened to be called SAD when it's seasonal affective disorder.
That's right.
And it's a real issue. People are saying to me all the time, I feel anxious, I feel down, I feel irritable, I am experiencing insomnia, etc. And I've been researching it over the years because I did my degree in psychology and had to do a study in it actually. And there are so many millions of people affected with SAD.
That's just it. Yeah,
it actually is a form of depression that sets in when the seasons are getting into their new.
That's right.
Spring, summer, fall, and winter.
So try and enjoy the weather as best you can as we come into this Christmas season. We are
sunlight.
about to take a short little break. We have our guest joining us next. So don't go away. We'll be back with more Have a Chat after the break. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. Thanks for joining us. Up next, we have our first guest of the day, our only guest of the day, who has such a fantastic story to talk to us about. We have Flora Sharp joining us today. Hello, Flora.
Hello, Audrey.
So happy to have Flora come on this show.
We are.
Especially where it is World Preemie Day.
Thank you. I'm actually glad to be on the show. November 17th was World Preemie Day.
It was not the 17th.
I actually thought it was today as well.
Okay.
However, I was corrected. Yeah,
that's okay. So we've celebrated that.
Yes, we did.
And we will call it a celebration. And thank you for making that correction.
Yeah, definitely. And you're here to talk to us today a little bit about your story as being a preemie mom. But first, for our viewers who might not know who you are, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Flora Sharp. I am a mom of two. My son is 20, going to Fantra College. And my daughter is now 9 months.
We just met her earlier.
Yes, we did. She's the love of my life.
Love of your life. We almost kept her on the show.
No, I know. It was. Yeah, your man had to rip her from my arms.
Beautiful baby. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Right now, I am currently attending school at Crandall University in Moncton, taking organizational management, and I'll be graduating in May.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
You've come a long way, baby, since the days
Yeah.
when you first found out that you had baby on board,
I
right?
have come a long way.
You know what? You're going to be the voice for so many women out there today, Flora, because I know women that couldn't come on the show just for various reasons. And due to policy within hospital organizations, we couldn't have an actual nurse come on from the
exactly.
labor and delivery unit. But,
Yeah.
but we have the wonderful Flora with an incredible
Yeah.
story to tell.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. I guess I'll begin with my pregnancy. Everything was smooth sailing in the beginning, and then I started noticing complications. My mother was coming to visit us, my husband and I at the time, and she also noticed that things weren't going too well. And so, thank you. And she noticed that things weren't going too well. So I remember being in and out of the hospital just to get checkups. And I was always getting reassured, you know, I was carrying twins at the time. And I was always being reassured, you know, they're okay, they're growing well, they're okay.
We're actually going to take a second to move your mic because we don't want to miss this story at
No.
all.
And we might even
Yeah.
back up a little bit because, Flora, everyone has to hear what you have to say. And I have my microphone on. So just as I'm speaking, you're trying to recapture the moment you found out that you were a mom. And you and I were actually talking on the phone and everything was going super well for you.
Yes.
You were excited and there'd been nothing going on at all with any complications at the time we spoke.
There we go.
No. Everything was wonderful at the time.
So you
we
knew
spoke.
you were having twins,
I
though.
did.
You did very early on in your pregnancy.
I
We knew
did.
this. Okay.
However, I didn't know the sexes of the babies.
No.
So we
No.
knew them as twin A and twin B.
Okay. Maternal or paternal? Did we-
Fraternal.
You didn't
Fraternal?
want to know.
I didn't
the sex,
want to
and
know.
that's a surprise.
Okay,
I like
yeah.
too.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
hard keeping that as
I know.
you know, but we determined that we weren't going to know their sexes. So I started feeling that something wasn't right, and so I'd go in and out of the hospital.
And how many months were you then, do you
Or weeks.
feel? Or
I
weeks,
was-
was it?
The first time I had gone in, I was 15 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
And things were still okay. By week 17, I just felt pressure,
Okay.
and I remember my mucus plug coming out,
Okay.
and I had no idea that that's what it was.
How
Okay.
did you know?
Well, no, your oldest child is
He is
much
my
older.
stepson.
Oh, and
she's
he's your
never
step.
went
Oh,
on
okay.
before.
So you had never been. Okay.
right.
Perfect.
First
perfect.
pregnancy for you.
Yes. And so my mucus plug came out, and I just didn't know
What that
what that
was.
was. So we went to the hospital. They said, you know, everything seems to be okay still.
Okay.
Yes, and then week 17, one of the doctors on call said, you know, we're going to have to admit you indefinitely. My cervix had thinned out drastically from the last time I had been there.
Go on.
And honestly, I went blank. I didn't understand what that meant. I
Right.
thought indefinitely, okay, you know, things were still okay. Babies are good. I just saw them on the ultrasound. On the
ultrasound.
ultrasound.
Everything looked
Right.
good.
Everything
Yeah.
looked good. And you know, if my cervix is thinning, it can't be that bad.
Right. You're thinking optimistically.
Right.
Right.
And then I was immediately put on drugs to prevent me from going into contractions.
Right.
Which is when I started thinking, okay, things aren't so good.
Uh-huh.
So the problem, I guess the challenge that we had at the hospital was the lack of equipment for such
Dealing with.
dealing with
Exactly.
complications
Yeah.
like this. And the fact that fetuses aren't considered viable until 24 weeks, 23 if you have a sympathetic ear.
Right.
So at the time, I didn't know that. I knew that we were having complications. I needed to be on bed rest, and I was kind of
Right.
elevated at the time.
Yes.
Right.
And it was a fight for their lives.
So you thought.
So I thought.
So pardon me, but to define the word preemie, it's premature.
Premature,
You know,
which means they were delivered early.
Yes, and is that a 3 weeks prior to the gestation period? That's normally
It could be
37.
It could be any time.
Okay.
I remember when I was in the neonatal intensive care unit, there were people that were having children early. Like Kezia is my daughter. She is 2 months early.
Yes, and that's significant.
It
You
is.
know, when
It
you're
is.
talking 2 months.
It is.
Even a
Yeah.
month premature is a little bit of alarm.
And there are women who have babies at 24 weeks
Okay.
earlier. I actually have a girlfriend who was born 24 weeks early. Oh, sorry, she was born at 24
At
weeks.
24 weeks.
Yes,
Yeah.
she was early.
Because I can remember even the doctors for my last one, Danae was 3 weeks early, and they were a little panicked. The nurses were a little panicky, and I still had 3 weeks to go technically, and they still were a little uneasy with that, being that far along. So I can't imagine.
With twins on board too.
Yes, and for twins, they usually are delivered a bit early.
Yes.
However, I remember, I believe this was at 19 weeks when my husband said, things aren't going too well. We need to go somewhere like the IWK,
A
somewhere
neonatal
Yeah,
area.
where they
neonatal
could
area,
handle,
where they can handle
things.
these
For
complications.
sure, that they do every day. If we don't have the equipment or the capacity or the staff that's trained in those critical areas, then we don't.
But wouldn't you expect the hospital you're at to say, we need to move you to there? Why are you guys deciding that that's a
Because
thing?
I was only 19 weeks.
Okay.
And they didn't expect, we didn't know this, but they didn't expect the babies to make it.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
remember speaking
Their concern was to save your life.
yes, my life,
Right.
and my life was at risk, and they
Okay.
had, the doctors, the medical team had said, you know, you might want to consider terminating the pregnancy,
Wow.
which was not an option for us.
Oh, Flora, no, you're a woman of faith
Yes.
and belief,
Yeah.
and if you know Flora, she's very
Yeah.
strong, and so is your husband, Ronald.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
prayed. We prayed for the health of these babies. We had no doubt that God was in control.
Oh, you had my backing on that. You know that.
Judy,
No,
you were with me throughout. You, whenever I needed somebody to give me strength, I had a group of people, and Judy was
Right.
one of them.
Well, I love you.
Oh, I
and-
don't doubt that for a minute.
No, but I mean, you were on the phone with me the night before. Everything was
Yes,
fine. We were planning
everything-
to get together for the Woman of Influence. The next thing I knew you weren't in attendance because you were in the hospital in a stressful, very stressful situation.
And what's interesting is Judy and I usually get together before the Women of Influence Gala to discuss the agenda
Right.
and the ins and outs of what the night's going to be like.
She was the president.
Yes, at
Yes,
the time I was
That's
president.
right. That's right.
And things were great. So when I realized that things were taking a turn for the worse, I called Judy and said, you know, things aren't going so well. My umbilical cord prolapsed, which means it came out. My water
Okay.
broke for baby A.
Okay.
And even then, I thought, you know what? It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. God's in control. It's going to be okay.
At this
Right.
point, which hospital were you in?
I was still at the Miramichi
You were,
Hospital.
and the umbilical cord.
And the umbilical cord came out.
Okay, then what happens?
The nurses were trying to keep the umbilical cord sanitized just so that I didn't go into infection. And so they would use sterile water to pour on the umbilical cord. And the baby lasted, his name is Matthias, he lasted 5 days like that.
They call those little angels rainbow babies.
Yes, he's my
Rainbows, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And we had
Yeah.
girls on our show recently that are angel moms and
Yeah.
rainbow moms. And
And
So he's an angel baby.
he is,
Yeah.
he is. And
Yeah.
one of the things that gives me joy, which sounds funny, is the fact that he's with the Lord. And I felt a peace knowing that he was with the Lord. But he lasted 5 days.
And he was perfect looking, probably.
He was anatomically perfect.
Oh.
There was nothing wrong with him.
Isn't that
Go
would be well?
That would be
It's
hard
devastating
to-
enough to have a baby that you see with physical disabilities, but when you see a baby that looks perfect, and from the outside you wouldn't know that there was anything wrong, it's twice as devastating.
What had happened was I started to get infection because the infection had gone into the amniotic fluid.
Right,
my
and that's what they
and
breathe.
that's, yeah,
Complicated pregnancy.
it was very complicated.
So what's going through your mind, Flora, when you're thinking I have another baby? You didn't know that the second one was a boy or girl,
No, I didn't.
and so you're this little treasure in your belly that you forever want to grow and be striving. That's what's going through your mind, is to keep this baby
Keep her alive.
and nothing about yourself.
Nothing about myself. I said to the doctors, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go, but you are not taking my babies.
Aww.
Yeah.
Throughout, right till the end, I said, you know, termination is not, even when Kezia was the only one left, I said, termination is not an option. I was told that her, quality of life might be at risk. I said termination is not an option.
No, and you stuck to that.
I stuck to that.
No.
They probably thought I was crazy.
Not at all.
No.
Your rights are your rights. Your beliefs are your beliefs.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through then when things became more complicated with who we now know is your baby daughter inside? What did you do? And
Because did you give birth to the boy?
I did.
Yeah.
So he
So
passes
he
away
passed-
5 days,
Oh.
and then
passed away,
they
and then I
make you
gave birth
to him.
to him.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, my husband was very proactive, and he went to Moncton to the maternal fetal care unit there
Right.
and said, "I need help.
Right.
My children and my wife are at risk. There's not enough equipment in Miramichi. They're doing a great job, but it's not enough."
Well, if they don't have it, they
Yeah.
don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And we got a sympathetic ear.
Yeah.
We had a specialist that said, "We'll take you in. You will come the week," I believe it was the week of the 3rd of December. We were scheduled to go in. And he died on the 3rd of December. So I was admitted to a Moncton Hospital December 6th. And throughout, I couldn't grieve. I couldn't
No.
grieve because that meant defeat.
That's right. And you were fighting.
Yeah.
And I
You were
was fighting.
You were a warrior for your now daughter.
And I didn't tell many people. I told just a few people. Most of my family didn't know because
Right.
the innate thing for families to do is to support and sympathize.
Oh,
and I
yes.
didn't want the sympathy.
No.
The sympathy means you're giving up.
Right.
Right.
Flora.
So as far as most of them were concerned, I still had my twins,
Right.
Yes.
which was the hardest thing to do because my family is close. And, Ronald's family is close. His siblings are basically his friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we
Tight.
told my sister and we told his brother, and that was pretty much it. Everybody else, I just said, please pray.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I told a couple of close friends, yourself.
Can you believe this woman, just to encapsulate it, you were on bed rest with this pregnancy for how many weeks or months?
Almost 4 months.
Bedridden.
Yeah.
What do you do all day long when you're in the hospital like that? No, seriously, you can only play so much on your computer and read and watch TV and talk to your other half or your friends. But
Nap.
you must have been a little bit stir crazy.
I was stir crazy. My husband never left my side.
He's amazing. Anyway.
He is amazing. He took time off work immediately. And I said, no, go to work. You need to go to work. Your staff needs you. Your colleagues need you. He said, no, you need me and the baby needs me.
Yes, he took time
Yeah.
off.
He took time off. He took a lot of time off for me.
Yeah.
And I had friends that came to visit, and then I had friends that were constantly messaging me or calling me, which was so helpful. And the other helpful thing was the nurses and the doctors.
Beautiful.
Right.
And they're overworked. It's hard to
Overworked.
believe how extremely crazy it can get because right now, Region 7 Hospital serves women from our outer lying areas. In fact,
That's right.
Bathurst no longer has an obstetric unit.
Oh, wow.
No, they don't.
No.
They don't have the services there. So we
No.
get women from Tracadie and Nigawak. For years we've
That's
done
right.
that. But Bathurst, which is 45 minutes away, for people like yourself that are having distress or snowstorms or whatever,
I know.
it's pretty scary.
It's crazy.
I'll tell you a story. When I was going into labor, the unit was in chaos. It was packed. And one of the nurses, she's now one of my good friends, she said, I'm not leaving your side.
No.
And it was her and another nurse. And she told the nurse, hold the fort. I'm not leaving Flora's side.
No.
She said, Ronald, take the other side of the bed. And they
Right.
both wheeled me into labor and delivery. And she stayed by my side until I delivered my baby.
To me, nurses have the
Oh, I
most
know.
wonderful calling because they are
Incredible.
earth angels so much of the time. They really are.
Absolutely.
If they're cut out for what they're doing, then they're truly just
Absolutely.
irreplaceable as
And I-
people.
Yeah.
And that was when you were delivering your daughter?
That was when I was delivering my son.
Okay. Okay.
And I had another nurse, and I have to give her credit. I have another nurse that constantly prayed for me.
No.
Every time she would come into the room, she'd say, Flora, it's going to be okay. God is in control.
Wow.
Constantly.
You needed that.
Another nurse, she couldn't be on the show. She was a twin, and she said, I'm not a woman of faith. However, I've been praying for you since you got here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, go
we
on.
all
So
were.
I had a team of people, even people that weren't believers,
Right.
that
Yeah.
were praying for me. So I knew God was doing something.
No,
I just didn't know what it
exactly.
was.
You were a
that's just
rock.
Now, did they have to induce labor, or is labor something that happened
it
naturally?
happened
Your
naturally.
body
My
is
body.
trying to expel that one child.
Yes, and then there was
And
a
how do they hang
fear
on to the
that I would go into labor with my
the other.
baby B,
right?
and
Okay, so well, before you start there, actually, we are going to take a short break. We are going to recap when we come back a little bit of your story, and then we'll continue on because we're very, very interested in hearing the rest. And obviously, we have some good news at the end of all of this story. So don't go away. We'll be back with more Have a Chat after the break. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. We've been chatting with Flora Sharp, who is our guest today, and she's been chatting with us because it's World Premature Day. It was on the 17th, actually, of November, and she's talking to us about her personal story, and we are going to continue. If you're just catching up, she was pregnant for twins, and unfortunately, due to complications, you had to give birth to the first baby A,
boy.
who had passed.
yes,
So now you're in the Moncton Hospital when this is happening.
I'm in the Miramichi Hospital.
Oh, when he passed.
When he passed,
But you deliver him in
I
Moncton?
delivered him in Miramichi.
Oh, you did.
So I was
Okay.
scheduled to go to Moncton when
That's right.
he passed.
Okay.
And so I delivered him in Miramichi, and we're working to not deliver my daughter.
Complete
Right.
and utter bed rest.
Complete.
What were
yes.
your allowances? What were you able to do? Did they actually allow you to go to the ladies' room, or did you have to have
I was allowed
catheterization?
to go to the ladies' room.
Okay.
But for the most part, I was not allowed out.
No.
It was just advised not to go out until the last,
Possible.
February.
Could
Okay.
you walk around your hospital room?
I chose not to.
Wow.
I was afraid. I
Yeah.
said I didn't want
You
to do
would
anything
be.
to trigger my
Yeah.
labor.
Were you terrified all the time, Flora? Like when you go to bed at night, you're thinking, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen.
I was constantly
Constantly.
in prayer and constantly reaffirming that this baby was going to be healthy and delivered
Aw.
at God's time.
Exactly.
And she was, but we're not going into the joy of all that.
No.
I'm just trying to say that, I have great respect for you and mothers that are moms of preemies because, I had a full pregnancy, which I'm going to say it to you right now. You probably envied women who were going through 9 months of normal pregnancy right to the end. Is that how you felt?
Absolutely, and I still do.
You resent that
Yeah.
because you're thinking,
I
well,
didn't get that.
they're saying to you probably, oh, you get a good night's sleep, or oh, you don't have to get a great big belly, or oh. However, I would think, like you were probably thinking, that I'm kind of jealous. I want to see the whole experiences.
Absolutely.
Give
Well,
birth
and the
to
other
end.
thing for her as well, unfortunately, for those who do experience a full pregnancy or close to it and still deliver a little early and just have that one and get the
Yes.
opportunity to grieve that child, you do not get that
I
chance.
did not get that.
Because you are still in survival mode to save the
Absolutely.
other child. So unfortunately, when your little boy was born, that doesn't happen for you then.
No, it doesn't.
No.
You do believe in miracles,
I do.
and you would consider Kezia a miracle baby.
She is my miracle baby. 5% chance of survival, and I didn't.
She only had 5 at that time.
At that time,
Okay.
I did not know that. I don't think it would have changed anything had I known.
No.
But I remember a nurse coming. She said, "You have no idea what you've gone through."
Wow.
And I said, well, what do you mean? I do. She said, no, your life was gravely in danger, and your daughter had a 5% chance of survival.
When they say gravely,
delivering him.
Tell us what gravely means. Your blood pressure was?
My blood pressure, because I had high blood pressure going into pregnancy.
Okay.
And also risk of infection, going into sepsis,
Shock. Yeah.
complications, any type of complication that ties in with twin pregnancies.
Right.
But because my pregnancy was so difficult, anything could have happened.
Yeah.
That's right.
So-
at any
Kezia
moment.
means what?
Kezia means sweet spice.
Oh.
And her name is fitting because it comes from the book of Job. And as the story goes, Job goes through all these hardships. He loses basically everything to be tested, and he still remains faithful. And then God blesses him later with 3 beautiful daughters, and one of them is Kezia.
Their perfect name.
Perfect name.
Exactly.
So Audrey and I are anxious now to know that we're neither one of us are preemie moms. When that baby's born, was it just like a chaotic scene when she came early?
It was chaotic.
Chaotic.
All of my doctors that knew what was going on and that was part of my team were on vacation.
Oh, no.
And we had this joke, baby is not going to be born till you get back. And in my head, I was serious.
But how could you stop that?
Yeah.
She had a mind of her own. Kezia had a mind of her own. So
Because there wasn't a scheduled date.
no, we
Right?
were just
It
trying to
was
go as long
as
it
she, yes, exactly. As long as she was willing to stay there.
And the long run.
And so we got a day pass, to go out. Because prior to that, I'd go to the cafeteria and come back, maybe for 10 minutes.
That's fun.
Right.
No, I'm just joking.
At the time, it was fun.
Yeah, that was a highlight of your day.
It was. And so when I got the day pass, I jumped for joy. Ronald wheeled me to a theater. We went to see a movie. Aww. Life was grand. And I came back and thought it was Braxton Hicks.
False contractions?
Yes. And so the next day, we went to the labor class. And I thought it would be an hour. It was 3 hours, which was 3 hours sitting up a bit too long.
Right.
And the contractions started getting stronger, and they were sporadic. So we didn't think anything, but they were very intense.
How many weeks were you, Flora?
By this time, I was 31 weeks.
Wow, okay.
And in my mind, things were great. Braxton Hicks can last up to the very end.
Because he was born at what? I'm just trying.
He was born at 20. He was born at 20 weeks.
So early.
19 and 5, I believe.
Okay.
And then she was born at 31 and 5.
Okay.
And so the doctors that didn't really know what was going on said, we're going to have to do a C-section. We're going to have to deliver. And Mama Bear came out. And I said, it's not happening. I'm waiting for my doctors.
Right.
And then by day 5, one of the doctors came and said, let's just check and see if you're still doing okay.
Right.
He checked my cervix, and I had a cerclage, which was a stitching to hold the baby in, and it started to tear. So I knew I had to deliver baby.
Yeah.
And so we went into the labor and delivery room. I was so heartbroken.
And terrified.
And terrified.
And terrified of what is going to happen with this little baby this early coming into the world.
And I had to take an epidural. I wanted to go natural. Had to take an epidural just in case there were complications during delivery.
That they would be able to.
You have to be conscious.
I have to be conscious. So I started getting drowsy, and then the baby started going into distress.
Right.
And I remember the look on the nurse's face, and I said, something's not right. And she just didn't want me to panic. So she said, baby's in distress, but it's okay. She calls the doctor, and they immediately set up the operating room so I can go and have a cesarean. However, by this time, I'm 9 centimeters
Oh,
down.
my. Oh, she's coming out.
She's coming
out.
out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
She's already
I just have
down.
to think about that, and I have contractions. I'm so serious.
Yeah.
Continue on.
And the doctor was phenomenal. He stretched my cervix to open to 10 so that she can come out. But by then she wasn't breathing.
Oh.
And room, everything stood still. Everything was quiet. He said, Flora, do not panic. Your baby's going to be okay.
Wonderful doctor.
He was amazing.
Yes.
And in my mind, I'm like, but I can't hear her. I can't hear my baby. And I said, am I going through what I went through with Matthias? Am I going to lose this baby? Lord, you're in control, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, Flora, don't panic. The nurse that was beside me snapped me out of it. She said, you know, snap out of it. Your baby needs you.
And you came this far.
Yes.
Right.
And so there's a team of nurses there, and they're working to revive my baby. And then I hear a grunt, and the doctor says, Flora, do you hear the grunt? That's your baby. Still not registering.
No.
Right.
No.
And then I hear her cry. And he said, that's your baby. She's okay.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. And I sat there for what felt like eternity. My husband was ecstatic.
Oh,
and they took her into NICU, and I just sat there in shock. You know, I just had a
Exactly.
baby. Everything went so fast.
How many pounds was she?
She was 1169 grams, which is 2.6 pounds.
2.6 pounds.
See, and you
A
don't
little
think, when you
tiny.
think of 40 weeks pregnant and you're like, oh, the first one at 20 and then she's making it to 31, you think, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You'd think, and then yet she's still only, because I think the babies are like a pound a week in those last weeks is when they really pack it on. And that's why every day, every week counts.
Every week counts. Every
right?
day counts.
Every day counts when
Every
you're
hour.
talking babies.
Yeah.
For sure.
So then what, when she's a little tiny, tiny baby like that, a preemie at 2.6 pounds, is there a team that takes her right to a certain, do you get to hold her?
I got to hold her after. I didn't get to hold her immediately, which was heartbreaking.
That would be heartbreaking.
It is.
And I remember breaking down when I saw her in the incubator. And the nurse said, you know, you could touch your baby. And I said, no, it's okay. She said, no, touch your baby.
Yeah.
And
She's so tiny.
she was the tiniest baby I had ever seen.
You'd be
Yeah.
in shock.
And I touched her, and that's when I broke down.
Yeah.
Because it was real.
Yeah.
You know, I was
right.
fighting for so long.
I know, and your hormones are raging, and you're, you know,
Yeah,
a woman
all
that's
of
just
that.
given birth, and you've just been through the biggest loss of your life, and then you're
Yeah.
just getting the biggest joy of your life, and so it's such a an interwoven scheme of feelings, isn't it?
It is. It really is, because I had that little bit with my firstborn not breathing and them rushing him to Moncton, and he was a full-term baby. So some of your story really, really relates to me, because I experienced some of those things along the way, and being there and having to walk past those incubators where babies just fit in the palm of your hand. And here I had a full-size baby and still was in the same area with issues because of complications.
Mothers go
It's
through
so
so
much.
And then
It
you
is. And
see
that's
the
what they
mothers.
said. To
Yeah.
touch your baby was a big thing. The nurses were like, reach in, touch them,
Yeah.
because they want you
so
to bond.
important.
I
And
know,
it's so
it's your
important.
mother.
When you think about having a newborn baby, and how much did you hold your first ones when you had them? When you
Oh,
first-
nonstop.
Did-
and
you know
that's
what I mean?
why I feel so badly.
You don't put
and
them
I know you
down.
don't want sympathy, but I mean, you can't wait to get your hands on that life that you've just created with your
Yeah,
other half.
that's why I think it truly is important to touch them and hold them as much as you can, despite the fact that they're in these little incubators, and that's where they need to be at first.
And I'm going back to human feelings again, because when you
Yeah.
walk down to that maternity ward and you look in that window and you see these 8-pound, 9-pound, 10-pound babies thriving and just fantastically coming along, your heart must be so sad, because here's your little girl struggling
She's struggling.
and struggling. And so can we say how long you were in the hospital after her delivery, just to cover
Did they
that?
keep her? They keep
kept her. We were there till April 4th in the NICU,
Okay.
Wow.
She was
We-
born.
February
February,
25th.
okay.
And we went home April 4th, and it was a disaster.
You were with
What?
no resources at home.
We had no
you were on your own.
resources. We were on our
Oh,
own. It was
wow.
a disaster.
Oh, you're kidding.
Because I was stressed, my milk wasn't coming
Oh,
like it should.
No.
Um,
Exhaustion.
exhaustion.
I mean, mental exhaustion, physical, and everything. You'd just be worn right out.
And she was in constant pain because
Oh.
the formula was too much for her. Her digestive
yeah.
system
Couldn't
wasn't.
handle that.
Little
Yeah.
tiny body.
So we had an appointment on April 10th for her eyes, just to make sure her eyes were functioning okay. And she didn't do too well. We
Oh.
took her.
Oh, really?
We took her home, and on the way home, she stopped breathing.
Oh, my land.
I said, Ronald, something's not right. So we went back to emerge, and she was blue. And I ran into emerge and I said, somebody take my baby, she's not breathing. And so she stayed in the pediatrics for another few weeks, and we were then transferred to Fredericton.
Oh, goodness.
We came home on May 3rd. So our battle hadn't stopped after I gave birth to her.
And I tried to go visit you to take a
Yes.
gift, but because of the susceptibility of that little tiny baby and germs, then you didn't want anybody around you, understandably so.
And for preemie moms, and I can say this for most preemie moms, that fear never goes away. You know, I'm very social in the sense that,
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
you know, I had a great amount of support, and I wanted everybody to celebrate my baby.
Right.
Right.
But that fear of
Scared.
germs,
That would be
the
terrifying.
fear of something happening to her and me having to take her back to the hospital was
No.
too much.
What were they saying had happened? What was it? What was the medical issue, or was
For her
there
to
one?
go back, we
When
still don't know.
they still don't know what happened, why
She-
she stopped breathing.
She would stop breathing. She had this mucus, this saliva that would just, it was stringy
Run.
and it would just draw
Yeah.
and choke her.
Yeah.
And we just, no one could figure out what it was. They thought it might be, what is it called? They thought it might be.
That's okay. I'm having a day like that
Sorry.
too. It's Monday. And I've had 2 hours sleep, so
No,
you're
that's just
forgiven.
it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just looking at this miracle baby because with preemies, what are some of the huge complications or health issues that they can acquire?
Developmental issues,
Mental, physical,
mental and physical.
and the visuality, like you said,
Vision.
the physical part,
So you'll
the
be
hearing.
watching all the milestones of when these, because you don't count. What do you go by when her actual birth date was supposed to be,
there's
or how does that
two.
work?
You go
Okay, you
by
go by
your
two.
chronological, which is
Okay.
what it's supposed to be, and then you go by again.
That's okay.
Hi, I'm
Sorry.
Judy.
Flora.
We're allowed to go blank,
No.
especially when you have a baby.
But they do both.
There are two, and it takes
Right.
up to 2 years
For
for
it to level
her to
out?
catch up.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So there,
Yeah,
there
that
are
makes
two.
sense.
Now, would you say she's a healthy baby at this point of 9 months?
She's a healthy baby.
In
She's
every
a
way?
fighter. She still has her challenges. She still is considered 6 months.
Okay.
At 9, she's considered
She's considered
6.
7
Okay.
months now. Sorry,
that's
she's
good,
9
though.
months. Yeah,
And she's like, not, yeah.
yeah. However, she's a fighter.
She's a
And
beautiful baby.
Beautiful. She looks completely healthy
looks
to
the
us.
picture
We
of
got
health.
a chance to see her.
She's a stunning little girl.
She is
Thank you.
absolutely
And you're
gorgeous.
a warrior.
Bright-eyed
you
and
are. I can't believe
bushy-tailed.
you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
What's your
definitely?
like?
We
Yeah.
actually.
What's your message? Your bottom line?
what would be the last thing that you'd want to say? Because believe it or not, we've run out of
Oh
time.
wow.
Wow.
That's just,
I actually have things that 2 of my girlfriends want to say. Tina says, I think it was so important for me, to have the support that she received from the maternity ward for her son. She said that when he was born, she had amazing support from the NICU as well. And when they were ready to go home, the team really looked after her.
Good.
yeah.
And her doctors and nurses were amazing. And Amy said, I appreciated hearing the positive things. Your baby is doing well after all the really scary things that happened. She said,
Great.
my advice for any preemie.
We want. Unfortunately, we're
Aw.
totally out of time. We were so wrapped up in your story. We want to thank you so much for joining us, and we want to
Incredible.
thank you to all our viewers for watching us
Thank
here
you.
at Have a Chat. Thanks.
Bye.
We'll see you next
Bye.
Monday.